doing well. And today is our last sermon in the Helping Others series. It has gone by so fast, and I'm so happy that you can be here. Now, let's recap what we've learned so far. So, we looked at how we can help others with our physical resources, such as food, water, clothing, money. Then last week, we saw that we could help others with encouragement, friendship, and spiritual support. And then today, we are going to be looking at how we can help people by challenging and changing systems. So, systems are born from our habits. When people live together, they develop certain ways of looking at life and doing things. We go to school, live, work in patterns that follow systems. Now, some systems are beneficial, they're really good, and other systems aren't. And one way that we can help others is by recognizing which systems are bad and having the courage to change and change them as we can to make them better. Now today, in today's service, we are going to start by singing some songs. Then we're going to listen to some important Bible verses. And finally, we're going to be able to learn from people who have already challenged and changed systems. But first, let's bow our heads and talk to God, who's at the heart of this message. Lord, thank you for this day you've given us. Help us to notice and seek you in happy, sad, or boring times. Thank you for the systems that make our lives better, and I pray for wisdom and love for each person watching this to have the courage and desire to learn and then act to make changes that will benefit others. Thank you for the opportunity to hear about others who have already changed systems. Let us believe you are with us just as you were with them. Amen.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine.
chapter 6, verses 8. God has shown all you people what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God.
I'm reading today from Isaiah chapter 1, verse 16 and 17. Stop doing wrong, learn to do right, seek justice, encourage the oppressed, defend the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow.
I'm reading today from Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6. Is this not the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke? To set the oppressed free and break every yoke?
Today I'm reading from Amos chapter 5, verse 14, 15, and 24. Seek good, not evil, that you may live. Hate evil, love good, maintain justice in the courts. Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream.
Carlos. Hello, Carlos? Carlos? That's odd. The call came from him, but I don't see him. Carlos?
Hold on, Mrs. Young. I'm coming.
Oh, I heard him anyhow. I guess I'll just wait.
2 more.
Two more what?
2 more bowls. It's my job to dry the dishes and put them away.
Hey, good for you. Are you done now?
For now, and maybe forever. Drying dishes is part of the system I'm trying to change. You said that today we will learn about challenging the system.
Yes, we will, that's right.
So I thought I'd get a head start and do a bit of system challenging here.
I see. Now, what systems are you challenging? And who exactly do you think you'll be helping?
I'm helping the oppressed. Me.
You? Carlos, you are not oppressed.
Well, sometimes it feels like it. So I challenged the 2 cookies at snack rule. You wouldn't believe how stubborn my parents are. They just talk about the cost of cookies and about good health and other boring things.
Well, go figure.
Then I thought the system of having me do so much work should be challenged.
Oh?
Sorry to say, that system is still in place too. I'm working as hard as ever.
Well, I think after I tell you about the people that some Bible guys helped by challenging systems, maybe you won't feel so oppressed and hard worked.
You can try.
Okay, I will. Hey, but first let's have a look at the helping board that you've been building. Last week you showed me the tangible ways that we can help, like with food and drink and clothes and shelter and medicine. But did you find a way to show friendliness and encouragement and emotional and spiritual support? Like, I think those intangible things we can't touch, that must be awfully hard to show or to build with Lego, isn't it?
Hard, but not impossible.
Oh, really? So what have you got?
I'll bring it in front of the camera so you can see.
Okay. Oh, look. The new part is on the right side of the board, right?
Yes, I will explain it. Start at the top. Do you see the small person?
Yes, I see a small person at the base of a big mountain. Oh my, that's tall, and the mountain is almost surrounding him.
That stands for someone feeling trapped and all alone and discouraged.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that person has a very high mountain to climb or to get around somehow.
You're right. Now look at the next scene. What do you see?
Okay, I see a small person at the base of a big mountain. Oh, but look, there are some other people that are coming.
Yes. Now move to the last scene.
Okay, same mountain. Oh, but look, now all the people together are walking up and around the mountain.
That is to remind me that a good way to help others is to give them emotional and spiritual support, especially in hard times.
Wow, that is a great reminder, Carlos. You did a fabulous job. Oh, one thing though, I see that the mountain changed color. Like it started out black with some gray on it, and then it was blue, and then the bottom one is yellow with some green on it. Were you trying to make a point with that, with the color changing?
You'll notice the mountain didn't become smaller or easier, but the person sees it a little differently now. With friendly help, it's not as difficult as it used to be. Since green is a growing color, I thought I could show that even in hard times, we can all keep growing. But I don't have much green Lego, so it's mostly yellow instead. But that's okay, because yellow feels like a hopeful color to me.
Well, yeah, I think yellow's a hopeful color too. Yeah, good for you. I'm just amazed, Carlos, you did it. Your helping board now shows both the tangible and intangible ways that we can help others, ways we've been talking about.
And now I'm ready to hear your new idea that we can help by changing systems.
Good. You just get comfortable and you'll hear 3 Bible stories, and then I have one historical example to tell you about a man who found many systems to challenge and change.
Did he challenge the 2-cookie rule or the breakfast dishes system?
No. The systems that he challenged and changed were much more awful than cookies or dishes. Just settle in and listen.
I'm all ears. Well, actually, Mom says I'm all hair, but my ears are good too. Start talking.
Okay. Today I'll tell you about Jethro, Jeremiah, and Nehemiah. Each of those Bible men encountered a system that wasn't good for people. They spoke up about it and tried to make a difference. Let's start with Jethro. After Moses led the Hebrew slaves out of Egypt, they stopped at Mount Sinai, where many years earlier God had called Moses in the burning bush and told him that it was time for freedom. This area around Mount Sinai was familiar territory for Moses. He had lived near here for many years, and in fact, his wife's family was from this neck of the woods, this neck of the wilderness. One day, there was a visitor at camp. It was Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. It was wonderful to see him again. He was a welcome visitor, but it was especially nice because Jethro brought with him Moses' wife and his 2 sons. Welcome back, Zipporah and Gershom and Eleazar. Before Moses had gone back to Egypt to free the slaves, he had sent his family to live with Zipporah's father, Jethro. He wanted them to be safe while he was doing the rescue work. And he was happy to welcome them back when Jethro came to visit him in the camp. Moses told Jethro all the wonderful things that God had been doing for the Israelites, setting them free from slavery and helping them along toward their new land. Jethro was delighted and said, "Praise the Lord! That's wonderful." They even had a special worship service to celebrate. Jethro led part of it, and Aaron, the high priest, led another part of it. Then they had a great feast together. When Moses was talking with Jethro that first day and evening, he hadn't said anything about all his work and how tired he was. But the next day, when Moses was working, Jethro watched carefully. And what he saw worried him. All day long, Moses was surrounded by people. You see, during those early days and weeks after freeing the slaves, Moses not only had to take care of them and lead them to their new land, he had to teach them how to be free people. They didn't know much about God, and they didn't know much about how to be free. They only knew how to be tired, abused slaves. All the planning and thinking to lead so many people was hard work. But the people made his job even harder with all their complaining and arguing and worrying and fighting. Moses had to settle the fights. Looks to me like these two men aren't too happy with each other. He had to teach the people right from wrong. He had to tell them about God and God's ways. He had to make rulings in people's arguments every day, all day long. That night, after Moses' work was done, Jethro sat down with him, and they had a chat. It was nighttime. The camp was quieter. And Moses could sit and listen while Jethro talked about what he saw. And Jethro said, "Why are you doing all that work by yourself? Better put these people to bed too." Moses answered, "I have to. The people need a leader to help them and to teach them." Jethro answered, "Yes, they do. But at this rate, you'll soon be all worn out. This isn't a good system for you or for the people. Listen to me. Pay attention. You need help. Choose men to help you, people you can trust, people who love God and are wise. Put them in charge of smaller groups of people, groups of 10, groups of 50, groups of 100, and then big groups of 1,000. They can settle disputes in those groups and help the people. The very hardest cases that they can't figure out, they can bring to you. But the easy ones, they can take care of without you. That way you can spend more time teaching the people about God and making plans for the journey. Then you won't burn out with all the strain." Moses was a great leader, one of the greatest leaders in history, partly because he was humble enough to take good advice. He did what Jethro suggested. He appointed wise people to help lead and judge the Israelites. Jethro saw something wrong with the system Moses was trapped in. He pointed it out and suggested a better way. That was a huge help to Moses and to all the people who needed good leaders. For the next story, we return to our friend Jeremiah. We heard about him last week and about two people, Barak and Ebed-Melech, who gave him emotional and spiritual support in very hard times. by being his friend and standing with him even when it was dangerous to do so. They encouraged Jeremiah and helped him. Remember, Jeremiah was a prophet, someone who listens carefully to God and then brings God's message to the people. In Jeremiah 34, we read that King Zedekiah, who was trying desperately to save Jerusalem from the Babylonian army that was quickly advancing, had actually changed the slavery system. From now on, the king said, Jewish slaves were to be set free. No longer could a Jewish person own another Jewish person as a slave. Way to go, Zedekiah. What a wonderful thing for the slaves. Freedom at last. The child slaves could return to their mums and dads and their homes. The adult slaves could go back to their homes and to their own land and start earning money that they could use for their families instead of just working for their masters. What a great thing King Zedekiah had done. Now, he might just have done it so that the slaves would become soldiers to help fight the enemy. Or he might have done it to try and impress God that he was a really good king, so God should help him defeat the enemy. Or maybe he really did see that freeing the slaves was the right thing to do. We don't know for sure. Whatever the case, the king changed the system in a very good way by making sure that the slaves were freed. But that didn't last long. Even though the rich and powerful people set their slaves free at first, they soon changed their minds and forced the people to be their slaves again. And the king did nothing about it. He let them do what they wanted. So back went the slaves, back to their masters, back to their hard work, back to their sad, lonely lives. Jeremiah took note of all this. He saw what was going on. And he challenged the system. Here's Jeremiah, the prophet. He's come to speak to the king and to all the rich and powerful people in the land. And he said, God wants me to tell you this. When you freed the slaves, you did a good thing, a really good thing. But when you enslaved them again, you acted very wickedly. The slaves should be free. Not only that, breaking your promise is wrong. Now listen carefully, says God. Since you will not let the slaves go free, I will let you go free. Free from my care, free from my protection. You are free to go ahead and be destroyed, since you are so intent on not giving the freedom that I want everyone to have. It wasn't long after that Jerusalem was conquered, overrun by the enemy, and utterly destroyed. King Zedekiah and his courtiers and soldiers tried to escape through a gate near the king's garden, but they were caught by the Babylonian army. The king of Babylon punished Zedekiah very harshly and then put him in prison for the rest of his life. Oh, how I wish that Zedekiah had listened to Jeremiah. God was sending messages, but Zedekiah wouldn't pay attention. He liked his own way of doing things. He stayed in the systems that oppressed people. Even when Zedekiah actually did the right thing for a little while by changing the slavery system, he quickly reneged on it, backtracked, and let rich people force poor people back into slavery. Jeremiah, however, challenged that system of slavery, and the system that says the king can break promises with God, and the system that allows rich people to do whatever they like. Jeremiah couldn't change the systems, but he gave it a good try. I admire him. Our final example took place about 70 years later. Remember, back in the days of King Zedekiah, Jerusalem had been utterly destroyed, and most people had been taken captive to Babylon. Now, almost 70 years later, the people were allowed to return and to rebuild their city and country. Nehemiah was a leader who came back to help with that rebuilding program. He's famous for organizing the people to accomplish a huge task. In just 52 days, they built big, strong walls around the city again, up from the rubble and the destruction that the Babylonian army had left. Arose walls that would protect the city and protect the people. Nehemiah did an amazing job. While he was directing that big building program, Nehemiah became aware of a system that he had to challenge and change. In Nehemiah 5, he tells us about it. Powerful people had been abusing poor people. They were selling food at very high prices, so high that the poor people didn't have enough money. They had to take out loans from the rich people to buy their daily bread. It got so bad that some people even had to sell their children as slaves so that there would be enough money to feed the rest of the people in the family. Can you imagine how awful that felt for the mothers and fathers who had to do that? Here is a father so upset that he has to sell his children as slaves just so he can provide for the rest of the family. Also, any fields or gardens that poor people owned where they could grow some of their own food were gradually being sold to the rich people in order to pay the high prices for everything else. And some of the poor people were having to sell their houses too. Eventually, the poor people would all be slaves, and they wouldn't own any land or houses. The rich people would own everything. Nehemiah was very upset when he learned that this was happening. In fact, he says more than that in his book. Not only was he very upset, it says he was very angry. So he called all the rich people together in a big meeting. He said, I want you to join me. Come, I have something to say. And when all the rich people were gathered there, he said this: we all of us, used to be captives of the Babylonians, and we hated it. Now here we are, free again, and what are you doing? You're making life so hard on the poorer people that they have to sell their land to you and their houses, and then they have to sell their sons and daughters to you as slaves. That is outrageous. Have you no sense? Have you no compassion? Have you no respect for God and God's ways? The rich and powerful people all stood there quietly. They had nothing to say in their defense. They knew they were wrong, and they were embarrassed that Nehemiah was having to give them this speech. Nehemiah continued, I'm not saying that you can't make loans or run your businesses, but I'm saying that it's wrong to charge interest on loans to fellow Jews. And it's wrong to drive prices so high that poor people can't afford what they need. It's wrong that you rich people are getting richer and the poor people are getting poorer. This system is wrong, and it needs to be changed. The rich and powerful people realized then that they had just slid right back into a system that they were used to. It made them more rich and powerful, but was miserable for less fortunate people. When Nehemiah pointed it out to them, they said, "We will give back the extra money we charged them. We won't charge interest on loans. We won't set the prices too high anymore. We can do better. We will do better." Nehemiah asked the religious leaders to come to the meeting too, and he asked them to listen carefully while the rich and powerful people made those promises that they would give back the extra money, that they would not charge interest on loans, that they would set prices reasonably, not too high anymore. He made them promise, and the religious leaders listened. The system was being changed. And it happened. In verse 13 of chapter 5, it says, "And the people did as they had promised." Nehemiah set the best example before and after this. Because he was a leader, the system allowed him to have special privileges, extra food, lots of money from the people, what he called a heavy burden of taxes. And in the system, rich and powerful people were allowed to be snobby and rude and unkind. But here's what Nehemiah said: "I did not act like that, not ever. Instead, I devoted myself to the work on this wall so everyone would be safe. I did not force people to sell their land or their children to me. Not only that, I spent my own money to feed lots of other people, especially because I saw that our poor people couldn't afford a decent life in the old system we had." And we know that he didn't walk around acting all big and wonderful just because he was the leader. Nehemiah saw a problem with the food system. He lived in a different way than that system. He challenged the system, and he changed the system to a way that was more fair and right. So Nehemiah is another person who helped others by challenging and changing the system.
Now one more example. This time not from thousands of years ago, but only 200 years ago. This man is Anthony Ashley Cooper, the 7th Earl of Shaftesbury. He was born into the English aristocracy in 1801, graduated from Oxford University, and then at age 25 was elected to the English House of Commons. He was rich and he was powerful, but he was also very, very good. He loved God and wanted to bring God's love to everyone he could. Life was very nice in England for someone like Anthony Ashley Cooper, but he didn't just sit back and enjoy himself. He paid attention to what life was like for other people, and he could see there were evil systems that made life miserable for millions of others. So he set about to change that. All his life he challenged systems and changed them. He found out what was wrong, investigated the situation, informed people about the problem and why it was wrong, persuaded people to change their minds, figured out a better way, told people how the problem could be fixed and how they could help, got the laws changed in Parliament and enforced, and finally followed up to make sure the better system was working well. And he didn't give up. One of the remarkable things about Anthony Ashley Cooper is that despite many setbacks and strong opposition from powerful people, he never gave up. He kept working to make things better all his life. Briefly, here is some of what he did. For people with mental illness, he worked 57 years to make sure they were treated better. When he began, patients were locked into asylums and hospitals where they were often kept in filth and pain and fear. He not only made sure the system changed for the better, he personally went to inspect the places to make sure that they were now clean and safe, and that the patients were now being treated kindly and effectively. For children, he worked 49 years to change another system. Kids as young as 4 years old worked 16 hours a day in mines and factories. Start work at 4 o'clock in the morning before the sun comes up, work all day until 8 o'clock at night. Children often became sick or were hurt at work, and many died. Anthony Ashley Cooper said, "No, this is not right." Eventually, he changed the system so that children had to be at least 9 years old to go to work, and they could only be forced to work 10 hours a day. Of course, nowadays we've outlawed child labor. You can go to school and have lots of sleep and time to relax because you don't have to work until you're grown up. But it started with Anthony Ashley Cooper caring about kids 200 years ago. Specifically for little boys, Anthony Ashley Cooper challenged the chimney sweep system, although it took 35 years to get people to agree to change it. Because they were tiny, little boys could fit up inside the chimneys of fireplaces. So 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old boys were given the dangerous job of crawling up narrow, dark chimneys to clean them out. Often the chimneys were still hot. The chimney sweep boys got sick and died from all the soot they breathed in. Some were badly burned and cut inside the chimneys. It was dreadful that they had to do that work. Anthony Ashley Cooper stopped that system and protected the boys. Good job! But he wasn't done yet. He kept looking for other ways to help. He went to the most horrible places in cities where he found beggars living on the streets or crowded into filthy, dangerous houses. For several decades, he led the effort to clean up the slums, build improved housing, provide clean water and better sanitation, and other public health reforms. He also worked to educate poor children so they could have a chance at a better job, a better life, just like the rich children had. The few schools available to poor children were called ragged schools. They were called ragged schools so youngsters knew they could come without shoes or decent clothes, just in their rags. For 39 years, Anthony led the Ragged School Union and helped spread the schools throughout Britain. Hundreds of thousands of kids got an education because of his work. He was involved in other projects to help children who were hungry, didn't have homes, and got in trouble with the law. Rather than just say, he helped them get food, find a decent place to live, and learn to support themselves honestly rather than getting involved in gangs and crime. He was also upset about how cruel many people were to animals. He led the campaign to treat animals humanely. City horses, farm animals, dogs, cats, birds. He wouldn't stand by and allow a system that abused animals. Things changed because of him. He also spoke out against slavery and worked to end that dreadful system in England and around the world where Black people were kidnapped from Africa and sent to other countries to be the slaves of white people, and where they were cruelly mistreated. Wherever Anthony Ashley Cooper, the 7th Earl of Shaftesbury, saw wrong things happening, he challenged them and did his best to change them. The world is a much, much better place because he stepped up to the plate for us all.
Wow, what an amazing guy. I wish my name was Anthony Ashley Cooper and I could change systems like he did.
But you are not him. You are you. You are Carlos. Carlos Freeman. And there are other things that God wants you to help with.
True. Hey, I like how Jethro got a better idea for Moses so that Moses didn't burn out. It wasn't a wicked system Moses was using, but it wasn't the best.
Right. And sometimes we help people by working with them to find a better way to do something.
Like Jethro did for Moses.
Right. And sometimes how we help others is by challenging evil systems and figuring out a better way to do things, like Jeremiah tried to do for the slaves, or Nehemiah did for the poor people.
I'm embarrassed about thinking that the two-cookie system and the breakfast dishes system needed to be changed. I actually have it pretty good.
Yeah, we all have it pretty good here, most of us. But there are many people suffering under bad systems here in Canada and around the world. As we pay attention to God, we will think about ways that we can help change those systems. We want to work with God to make this world a better place, to make this world more like heaven.
While you were telling these stories, I came up with something for the helping board that sort of shows challenging systems.
Wow, you did? Like, I can't even imagine. I don't have a clue how I do that.
Just a moment, I'll get it for you.
Okay.
See at the bottom on the left-hand side?
I do. Yes, you've built a wall, a yellow wall, and I see people standing up in front of the wall.
Look where they want to go. Look at the other side of the wall.
Oh, it's lovely. Look at that beautiful bower and all the trees and flowers and the cute little animals and birds. Oh, it's lovely.
Yes, but the people can't get there because a system, that's the wall, is in the way.
Oh, I see. You're right. Like bad systems, they're like walls keeping people away from good things, and they're also like walls that trap people in hard places.
But there is another part that I'm hitting with this cloth. Just a moment, I will take it away.
Okay. Oh, the wall has been broken. I see a gap there in the wall, and the people are walking through so they can get to the better place.
I didn't take out the whole wall because I think there is always more work to do. But it's good that the walls, the systems, can be changed.
That's amazing, Carlos. You did a great job. That whole helping board has been a wonderful reminder of the many ways that we can help others. And remember, it all started with you helping your family by taking care of baby Louisa.
Yes, and then I added other tangible ways to help. People need food, clean water, medicine, clothes, and houses. That's all on there.
And then remember, we talked about how we can help people in intangible ways, like with friendship and encouragement, emotional support, spiritual support, and you represented that with the long, hard climb up that tall mountain, or up and around the mountain, aided by friends.
And now we start to break down the walls.
Sorry, Carlos, I missed what you said there at the end.
I'm just trying out some words.
Trying out some words. Well, like such as?
Faster than a speeding grocery cart. More powerful than a discouraging mountain. Able to leap tall systems in a single bound. Look up in the air. Is a bird. Is a plane. It's Super Carlos.
Hey, that's the kind of superhero I could get excited about.
Yes, a superhero who gives food to the hungry people. A superhero who encourages sad or lonely people. A superhero who changes bad systems.
Well, now, remember, one person can't do everything, Super Carlos.
Yes, I know, but I can keep my eyes and ears open to find ways I can help.
Good for you. Open eyes, open heart, open hands.
What exactly does that mean?
Oh, well, with God's help, we can have open eyes to see the need. We can have open hearts. We really want to help others. And we can have open hands. We give what we have. We do what we can so that others are helped.
Open eyes, see the need. Open heart, want to meet the need. Open hands, do what I can to meet the need. I like that.
Sure. All through the Bible, God told people, I will bless you so that you can join me in blessing others. People you know and love, but also people who are strangers, sometimes even our enemies. That's our job now, working with God to help other people.
Thank you for teaching me about helping others.
And thank you for that great helping board you made. Together, you and I and all of God's good people will keep on blessing others with the help that they need.
I've got to go now. I'm the Louisa sitter while Mom bakes.
Oh, well, good for you. I'll talk to you again soon.
See you, Emu.
Hey, that's my line. But wait, I can come up with something else. How about this? Adios, Carlos.
I can't beat that. I'll just say goodbye, and I'll keep my open eyes, open heart, and open hands working so when we meet again, we can talk more about blessing others. Bye.
Bye, buddy.
and love others. A big part in loving God and other people is to help others. In these past 3 church services, we have looked at helping others with our money, with food, water, shelter, clothing, and medical help, with friendship, encouragement, emotional, and spiritual support. And with today, we looked at helping others by challenging and changing systems so that we can make systems more just and kind. You have incredible power, superpower, because you have the power to be kind. Don't underestimate that strength. Keep on being kind to your family, your friends, and people you don't know, near and far away. Today, our benediction comes from Isaiah 58. Break the chains of injustice. Get rid of exploitation in the workplace. Free the oppressed. Cancel debts. Share your food with the hungry. Invite the homeless poor into your homes. Put clothes on the shivering ill-clad. Be available to your own families. Do this, and the lights will turn on, and your lives will turn around at once. Your righteousness will pave your way. The God of glory will secure your passage. Then, when you pray, God will answer. You'll call out for help, and God will say, "Here I am." If you get rid of unfair practices, quit blaming victims, quit gossiping about other people's sins, if you are generous with the hungry and start giving yourselves to the down and out, your lives will begin to glow in the darkness. Your shadowed lives will be bathed in sunlight. I will always show you where to go. I'll give you a full life in the emptiest of places.